fitness nutrition show with Sarah Granetz, Strong by Sarah. You may know her by her stage name, Strong by Sarah. And I call her Sarah, and you guys can call her whatever you want, but you should call her and get on her program because you're going to learn a lot from this young woman. She has got it going on. She has the story behind it. And I believe what she's doing is very fact based, very evidence based, and it's very applicable. It's no quick fix, none of that bull crap. All right. We don't do bull crap fitness stuff around here. There's enough of that out there. All right. We want to talk, we want to help you make life decisions and get going in that direction. Speaking of that, Sarah, previous segment, you were talking a little bit about your history and the eating disorder. And let's pick up that thread because that's a huge issue nowadays. How much of that do you see in your work? I know you work primarily with women. That's fine. But how much of that do you see?
Unfortunately, a lot more than I would ever hope. Every time sometimes it's a message, sometimes it's a comment. I realize that that person is really, truly suffering. Like I said in the beginning, there's an actual eating disorder wherein we need whether inpatient or outpatient treatment. And then there's disordered thoughts around food, sometimes that we carry with us for a lifetime. And for anyone out there, my message is quite clear that you don't have to accept any level of that. Food is fuel. Some people think food is love. Some people think food is a necessary evil of life. But the ability to be neutral about food, to understand how to feed yourself. You can still have foods that bring you joy in those moments, but food neutrality can be such a game changer. And tackling your disordered thoughts around food at any age can really, it will change your life. And that time is never spent in vain.
What does food neutrality mean? I haven't heard that term before. What does that mean, Sarah?
So to me, food neutrality is being able to approach it without a good or bad mindset, but maybe also even without a nutrient dense versus non-nutrient dense mindset. So often when we talk about food, we're constantly trying to put labels on it, right? We're trying to say this food is good, this food is bad, but also at the same time, we're saying this food is nutritious, this food is not. And if you're actually able to be a little more neutral about the topic and understand that every time we sit down, we should have a balanced plate of carbs, fat, and protein. Those sources are, of course, in our control. But for the moments where they are not, car breaks down on the side of the highway. Your neighbor has to go to the hospital. We went through that yesterday. We are not always in control of what we consume. And if you're able to be more neutral and say, this is the best I can do for today, and other times it's a little better, we don't feel so emotionally connected to our food choices. And we can say, you know what, actually, it's 3:00. Every day at 3:00, I'm making it up, right? Hummus with fresh vegetables and maybe a jerky. And tomorrow, even if we don't want that, we eat it anyway because we know we should, because that's what we do every day at 3:00. So sometimes it's neutrally approaching our wellness, our health, but sometimes it's just saying, Sarah, this is what you do every day at 3, go do it. Just like some of us have to do with our workouts.
A former distance runner, and you transitioned. What an odd transition from the distance running into the powerlifting, the bodybuilding stuff. It's like, okay, we need to hear more about that story because I'm sure people are interested out there because you can't run forever, but you can do many different things depending on your situation. I'm not dogging running or anything like that. I'm a trainer. I get it, but talk about it, please, because everybody's different. We got to work with what we have at this point in our lives. So go right ahead, please.
Sure. Well, I will dog running just a little. No, I think that being able to run is a gift. Being able to run and take care of ourselves is really important. Being able to be active and do something like running, which is free, right? Just go outside. Often what I see in my work with my clients is they and I were using running as a ticket to thinness, as a ticket to unrealistic, potentially unhealthy standards of what our bodies should and shouldn't look like. Running essentially until we literally physically cannot, running through broken bones, running through other injuries, right? And I think this is one instance where we want moderation. We want moderation in the kinds of exercise that we do. In my programs, we are mostly lifting weights. But that doesn't mean that we don't have runners on the team. It doesn't mean we don't have people doing Pilates on the team or pickleball fans. But when we think about longevity, we need muscle. And aerobic cardio, like distance running, does not deliver those results to us. But like you mentioned, at a certain point, it's just not going to serve our aesthetic goals either. A lot of women suffer with excessively throwing their hunger hormones out of whack because of so much cardio activity. And there's nothing wrong with being hungry, but at a certain point, you should be fulfilled by a balanced meal. So running can actually be a bit of a red flag to me sometimes when I have a potential client who says, I need to be able to still do all my runs, just like someone who says, I still need to be able to go to CrossFit 5 times a week. And I say, I'm not sure if I'm the coach for you because I want to help you still be doing this, right? 70, 80 years old. And neither of those are.
Does that happen often, Sarah?
It does. And I have been successful, I think, at showing these women that they can still do CrossFit, they can still do a spin class, they can still go for a run once a week. But the bulk of their training, if they want that longevity factor, and if they want to reduce their injuries, a lot of these women do come to me with actual like rotator cuff or, meniscus tears, right? Actual legitimate injuries. They're always reduced and we always feel better. But obviously, also nutrition is a massive part of that. But the kind of stress we place on the body, whether acute or chronic, makes a massive, massive difference.
How do you customize these things for your people and find their sweet spot?
Sure. It's all a balance, right? So if someone has goals of growing their lower body and they want to run, it's very clear we need strength training and we need a certain amount of volume per week. This has been established by many medical research studies. And we just have to balance the amount of recovery. When we want to do another activity outside of weight training, whether it's dancing, once again, whether it's like volleyball, we need rest. We only grow muscle at rest. So it's this balance between what do we want to see aesthetically and what are we currently doing? And so just like with food, we very slowly make changes. So it's not this massive shock, but also it becomes more palatable because we start to feel better running less or doing less CrossFit. We start to feel stronger lifting weights, our clothes start to fit better, and then the wheels start turning. And then I no longer have to say, are you okay if we drop that next run? They're like, I already dropped it. We're never going back to that. But in my one-on-one program, that's what we do. Very slow, strategic moves that feel good, that don't rock the boat too much, but also so I can show clients this is the way for a reason, and this is my recommendation for a reason. It's not about what I want. It's about them paying me for a service to get from A to B. And that's the way to get there.
Sarah, how many times have you heard people say, I'm cutting out carbs.
Yeah.
I'm not doing carbs today. I'm not doing carbs this month. It's like, okay,
Mm.
please, I want you to talk about this. Like, oh my God.
Unfortunately, carbs really are demonized. It's
Aren't
it's crazy to me, actually. It Carbohydrates might not be an essential macronutrient when we think biologically speaking, what do humans need to survive? They need protein and they need fat. That does not mean that every single person should not be consuming carbohydrates. Carbohydrate consumption should be directly related to activity level. So not everyone needs to consume 300 grams of carbohydrates a day. Not everyone should. But in my experience, most women who come to me looking for help with their nutrition, looking to grow muscle, who don't necessarily want to be a muscle mommy or super bulky, whatever that the extremes of the muscle trend might be, doesn't really matter if you want to be lean muscle or you want more kind of defined obvious muscle. You need carbohydrates. Your body runs on glucose. Your brain runs on glucose. And for most women, we have the actual energy to live our lives if we're consuming enough carbs.
you kind of condense that down? That's a huge question for a minute and a half answer. Can you give me a snapshot?
Absolutely. Once we start to experience perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, the hormones in our bodies change. The way that our bodies handle carbohydrates is different. We do not process them as efficiently. This means that once we become perimenopause, ideally we are focusing on protein, healthy fat, and then carbohydrates. We still want carbs, but they will be smaller. We see in medical studies that studies on postmenopausal women benefit way more from creatine They benefit way more from sprint training intervals, sprint interval training. They benefit way more from things like jumping for bone density. So we definitely, once we start to age, we want to get away from cardio. We want to get away from so much extra stress on the joints. And we want to make sure that the time we do spend in the gym is spent lifting quite heavy, meaning very challenging weight, sprinting, and managing our diet in a way that maybe we haven't had to when we were younger.
Sarah, how would you like people to connect with you, find you, do all of those good things? Please take your time, plug time, go right ahead.
So I can always be contacted and found on Instagram, strong period by period Sarah. I am also on TikTok, but I am an Instagram girly. You can also find me on my website, strong hyphen by hyphen Sarah, or strong dash by dash Sarah.com. As Tom has mentioned, I mostly work with women. I exclusively work with women in my one-on-one coaching program, but my pre-made programs are for everyone. There is power and strength training for us all, and my workouts are not geared towards women any more so than any workout is geared towards anyone. We all have the same goals. We all want to be strong. We all want to be super fit and living our best lives. I just launched Build, which is a machine-only bodybuilding style program. It's a 12-week long program, which is very different from 7 weeks to Shredded, which is my much more intense powerlifting style program that is also available at the gym and at home. Build is only a gym-based program. And it's either for people who have graduated from 7 weeks to Shredded, or for maybe more experienced lifters who want a bit of a change, or to maybe use all the fun equipment in their gym that they don't usually get to do.
About why women should, I just got Sandy to start taking creatine, as a matter of fact, and because of the brain health stuff. But there's a lot of attributes. Please go ahead, talk about all of this.
Yeah, so we can start with creatine. I mean, I think it's easily, I don't think, it is the most studied supplement ever. It's easily the most misunderstood supplement. Women only have 70 to 80% of the creatine stores as men. It's so important that females take creatine if they can, if they're not prone to alopecia, if they're not prone to other kidney disorders, the things that we know about creatine. There are parts of the population that should not take it. 90% of us don't fall into that bucket, right? And 90% of us can really benefit from creatine. The benefits that we see to the brain, the benefits that we see for focus, for faster recovery, for enhanced workout performance, for increased muscle mass. And often what I hear from women is that they simply do not understand, actually, on a very simple level, the amount of effort, the amount of food, and the amount of time required to even gain 2 pounds of muscle in a month, which would actually be the best case scenario for a male or female looking to gain mass in the gym. That is literally the most you could get as a natural athlete. And it's such a small amount. And if you're over 5 feet tall, which most of us are, it's going to hopefully be equally spread throughout your body. And we are talking tiny, tiny bits, right? So creatine can serve you in so many ways, just like strength training will. And you won't instantly turn into a Hulk overnight, because, to be perfectly frank, it's 100 decisions that you have to make for hundreds and hundreds of weeks, if not months, to even get to a point where you might say, you know what, actually, I'm looking pretty good. I can stop. Or I can switch from growing to maintaining, which is far easier. Just like anything, you really have to be so dedicated. And that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing, even if you don't want to have a super muscular appearance. But the longevity associated with muscle, the mobility, I mean, the returns on your investment, they're massive.
It's building muscle past your 40s or 50s or 60s. You've been sedentary. Is it possible for women to make these changes?
100%. 100%. We can grow muscle at any age. There will be things that are working against us, right? We stop producing as much growth hormone. We do start to lose muscle mass because of that. But that doesn't mean that it's not impossible. It just might take a little more effort than it would have in our 20s and 30s. There's a very famous, I don't want to call her an influencer, but I don't know enough about her to have a different word. Train with Joan is a well-known woman who began her strength training journey in her 70s. Her daughter, I believe, is a fitness trainer. And honestly, she looks just as jacked as any other woman that I see in the gym on a regular basis. And she's proof that with the right approach, anything is possible. And I want to be clear, the approach is not spending 4 hours in a gym every day, right? The women I work with are not professional athletes. I am not a professional athlete. My job just happens to now align with this, hobby of mine. But you don't need to have hours and hours to devote to workouts. You do need to be able to find time throughout your day to devote to your health, right? Whether that's 5 minutes to make your own meals, 10 minutes to go to a grocery, or even order groceries online, right? You need to find the time in the day, but you don't need to find hours to spend in a gym at your home or somewhere else.
Sarah Granetz is great. Wish I wouldn't have messed up my little segment there, but that's okay. Things happen. And that's the thing with doing your side action, everybody. Don't let it bother you. Just roll. Okay. Just roll. Sarah Granetz. Go to Instagram, strong by Sarah, and it's strong.by. You'll find it. She's got, according to what I'm looking at right now, at this point in time, 279,000 followers on Instagram. Not too shabby. And she hasn't been doing this all that long. She's got a very, very interesting story. And it was fun as heck talking to her. And I look forward to having her back again. She's just a blast to talk to. So until next time, I am Papa Tom. Hopefully we get all this stuff done and it comes out correctly. If you can't laugh at yourself, regroup, do something different. Okay. Until next time, everybody. Peace out. Love y'all. I'm Papa Tom. We'll talk to you next time.